First and foremost, welcome everyone. I'm Anna. I work with ATTRACTISS. It's a fantastic project which I will introduce in a second. And today we're going to have our first webinar. So we're quite excited about it. And just for you to have an idea of what's going to be happening through the day is we're going to have a short introduction to ATTRACTISS so that you know what you can get from it and how to engage with us. Then we're going to be looking into what are innovation support services. It's a word that gets talked about a lot, but we don't necessarily understand exactly the same things when we talk about it, but that's why we have experts here today. Then we're going to bring it down to the practicalities of it, because it can be an abstract term, but once you see how things are happening on the ground, I'm pretty sure you're going to get just as excited as I am about this whole concept. And then finally, we're going to have an open conversation, and we're going to ask you to ask your questions and share your experiences as well if you want to. Because just looking at the people that were coming in, I'm already very, very excited about what's about to happen. The main goal of ATTRACTISS is making sure that we support people who are creating change in the ground to improve and embed competencies, approaches, instruments, tools, governance methods, all the practical aspects that will allow you to actually implement innovation support services on the ground and across the AKIS. And to do it, the final goal of the whole process is not to actually have fun amongst ourselves, which is part of a side thing that happens, but most importantly, making sure that all that innovation that we see on a daily basis in the ground can actually come together, become projects, and start being implemented at scale across agriculture in Europe to just make it more sustainable, make sure that the change that we want to see is happening and that the change is actually being led by the users. Along those lines, what we're doing is making sure that you actually can access the skills that you need, that you get inspired, that you share with each other, because if there's something that we know is that the best change comes when people talk to each other and start learning from each other. So to do that, we're creating a lot of spaces for people to come together through workshops, through webinars, through cross visits. We're creating an amazing toolkit, which you can all already access. We're going to be doing practice abstracts. And importantly, we want you to get involved as much as you want. We want you to come to the events. We want to create events that are close to your heart. So anything that you're interested in, let us know. And really importantly, we want to make it accessible to everyone. So one of the things that we've done is developed a really good platform, which is akisconnect.eu, that you can access, where you can find other practitioners and contact them. There's a whole list organized by country. So it's really interesting in that sense. There's going to be all the events we're going to be listing there. And also a really important part, the innovation support services, tools and methods area is going to be there. We're also working on a forum where you're going to be able to talk to each other. And as usual, the idea is for you to get involved digitally, but also in practice. So again, we will make sure that there's always events around you. And especially we would like to invite you, if you're interested, we're going to be creating special trainings that allow you to improve your skills. So if you're interested, at the very end, we're going to give you all the information that you need to be able to connect with us. But in the meantime, I'm going to stop chatting away, and I'm going to let our director, I'm going to say director, because Patrice is going to murder me. She's not their director. She's one of our best experts in the topic, talk about innovation support service. So I'm going to give the floor to Patricia Proietti, who is going to start talking a little bit about what innovation support services are. So I'm going to shut up. Patricia, go ahead. And again, before I forget, remember that you can use the chat to put all your questions, to put all your comments, and feel free to continue putting your ideas in the Menti. I'll put the link in the chat immediately. Patricia, go ahead.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you everybody to be with us today. And I'm Patricia Proietti from Italy. I work for CREA, that is an organization behind supported by the Ministry of Agriculture. So what are innovation super services? We have the definition in the CAP regulation, in CP regulation. Innovation super services are aimed at providing support for preparing and implementing AP agri-operational groups projects, capturing and making use of grassroots innovative ideas. This is the definition of the regulation. But innovation support services is not a new concept in the literature. So for the scientists, for people who studies rural development, advisory services, and so on. So looking at the background, at the literature, ATTRACTISS has defined innovation super services as services that make innovation happen by fostering interaction and constructing knowledge. So it is important that our services that make innovation happen. But, sorry, I go fast. How does an innovation happen? There are several ways that we can describe an innovation process, but extremely simplifying, we can refer to two different different models, the linear process and the interactive innovation process. In the linear process, the objectives and the results of the innovation are defined by experts, by the scientists. So innovation starts from the research and is disseminated by the advisors to the end users that can apply the innovation. In the interactive innovation process, this is the one applying to the AP agri-operational groups. The objectives of the innovation are defined by the initiators, and they addresses the interactive innovation process addresses real challenges because takes up real problems faced by farmers, foresters, to which there is no simple solution. And it is the interactive innovation process. It is multi-actor based, that meaning that brings together different people from different value sectors, different expertise, and it apply a collaborative approach because it requires interaction among partners, among skills, competencies, different knowledge throughout the process to bring new knowledge all together, and entails sharing power and responsibility. It is difficult to say that the results of the interactive innovation process are defined by the initiators, because the results are up to the journey, because the interactive innovation process is a journey. The people who are involved is a test and can change direction according to the different needs, expectation, and results that are ongoing results. So, and the shape that through which we represent the interactive innovation process is a spiral, and we will see why it is a spiral. So, in an interactive innovation process, an innovation can rise from different situations. Can rise from a problem facing by the farmer, or can rise by an idea of the farmers. But obviously, in both cases, the farmer is facing practical issues, or sees new possibilities, or want to make a change. So the support that can be offered in this phase by the support is to trigger knowledge exchange, assess the needs, active listening. And why assess the needs, opportunities, and triggers knowledge exchange? Because in some cases, there is not particular needs, but new initiative can emerge also from interaction or unexpected event. So exchanging with people who have different experience or expertise can trigger new ideas and can make hidden needs to emerge. So the farmer who has an idea obviously is looking for people, for other people that have the same problem, the same idea, people with which share similar interests or problems, and people that are willing to take a risk. So there is the need to engage in discussion and explore the possibilities of the idea with the group before taking action. And in general, you can say that an idea is ready to become, to transition to a plan with objectives when it is a collectively embraced concept. So the support in this case has the role to organize contacts with other people, share information, arrange informal discussion, consider different solutions, help defining the project scope, vision building, negotiation, and so on. And also manage some conflicts that can arise from the sharing of ideas. And so once the concept is embraced by a group of people, the farmers wants to translate the idea into concrete plans. So it's the time to take action. In creating the plan, tasks are assigned, agreements are made, and more people can be included because there is the need to take on board all the experience, all the skills, and resources, and so on. So the end point is a plan. And so the support that can be offered in this phase is to help identify the right actors, the real function needed to achieve the innovation, finalize the idea and define all the objectives, considering obviously all the expectation, facilitating access to seed funds, facilitating the setting up of informal and flexible networks, and so on. And now there is the time to develop something new altogether. So the group is trying to develop a solution to a practical problem, or to develop a new practices. So demonstrating that the change is possible. And this can be achieved through the experiment. So people are involved. There is the need to cooperate, facing some difficulties in the obviously exchanges between the group and also between outside the group. So the support that can be offered in this phase is to help identifying, assign clearing tasks, creating trust between partners, facilitating collaborative work, joint learning, decision processes, managing disagreement, conflict, facilitate the identification and solution of potential problems or difficulties. And after the experiment, there is the phase of implementing the results of the develop the results. So the experimentation, if the experimentation has produced good result, it's time to implement the solution concretely, stimulating cooperation of other parties in the chain. So there is the need to negotiate with actors who are affected by the change. Also, legislation, regulation may need to be amended, and so on. So the support that can be offered is to manage disagreement or conflict, both internal and external, help identify potential problems or difficulties in implementing the innovation, help identify other parties, stakeholders that are relevant for realizing the innovation, negotiate and manage contracts, agreements, monitor the progress toward reaching the objectives, and so on. Obviously, when an innovation is meaningful, there is the need to share the result, to let other people to improve. So there is the need to share, to let other people to adopt and replicate the innovation. So the support that can be offered in this phase by the Innovation Support Service is to ensure that relevant information are shared with actors outside the partnership, help identify the target groups, communication instruments, channels, mobilize multiplier actors, ensuring that all the key actors invest enough effort in disseminate activities because peer-to-peer learning is really important, organizing events, and so on. And finally, the last phase of our spiral is to scale the innovation. As more farmers experience positive results with the innovation and share the experience with others, the innovation becomes embedded into the agricultural community. This phase involves the innovation becoming a standard practice or part of the farming culture, and it may involve the development of support networks among farmers, the establishment of local expertise that can help the farmers, the integration of innovation into agricultural policies, regulation, extension services, and so on. So the support that can be needed in this phase is obviously apply the training, disseminate the results, to intermediate between consumers and producers, between network partners within an overall system in the value chain, and to build an institutional dialogue, for instance, to connect with other programs and strategy to let the innovation to become embedded. So now we can, why we use the spiral to represent this process? We use the spirals because the embedded phase, when the innovation becomes a practice, the situation is changing. So new needs and new opportunities can arise. And so new needs and new opportunities let another process, innovation process, to start. So this is the shape of the innovation, the interactive innovation process is spiral because it never ends, but continue with other problems and needs. And extremely simplifying, we can say that innovation support services, looking at our presentation, push the innovation process forward. So the role of the innovation support service is to push the innovation process forward. And we, the literature, and we in ATTRACTISS project, we summarize all the activities that can be played to support the innovation process in 7 functions. And we have these 7 functions, and we go in deep now to see how they work. The first function that it is identifying in the literature and in ATTRACTISS is the awareness raising and knowledge dissemination. This function includes all the activities that contribute to knowledge awareness, dissemination of scientific knowledge or technical information for farmers. For instance, providing knowledge base or information dissemination forums, meetings, demonstration, exchange visit, and so on. And when an innovation support service provider can apply this function in different phases of the spiral. For example, in the initial phase, because it is important to inspire people to let new ideas emerge, but also obviously in the development, because there is the need to supply, to provide technical information, or to disseminate outside, to involve other partners, to involve people along the supply chains and so on, and obviously in the dissemination and embedding phase. Second function that it is identified is the advisory, consultancy, and backstopping. It includes targeted supportive activities aimed at solving complex problems based on demands of actors and the co-construction of solutions. And when it is used, for example, in the initial phase when there is a problem, because there is the need to articulate the needs, to organize backstopping pools to find the solution to the problems, And also it is can be played in the development phase, because new problems can arise. And of course, the articulation of new advisory needs can also emerge in the embedding phase, when there is the need to support other farmers in adopting the innovation. The third function is the demand articulation. It includes all services targeted to help actors to express clear demands to other actors. And this is targeted support to enhance the innovator's ability to express his or her needs to other relevant actors. Obviously, this function is played in the beginning of the process. One of the more important, or maybe because it is transversal, function is the networking, facilitation, and brokerage. That include the soft skill, and it entails the provision of services to help organize or strengthen networks, improve the relationship between actors, and to align services in order to be able to complement each other. It also includes all activities aimed at strengthening collaborative and collective action. And I say it is a transversal function. It can be played in each phase of the spiral in the beginning, because there is the need to build the partnership, to find a group, to find new people. In the planning, because there is the need to facilitate, mediate between expectation, and in the development, because there is the need to moderate and to negotiate between disagreement and facilitate knowledge learning, collective learning, and so on. And so there is, and also in the other phases in the embedding, because there is the need to facilitate external communication with within the networks, with managing authorities, grantors, stakeholders, potential users, and in the supply, along the supply chain. So it is a really important function. Another one is the capacity building, that includes the services aimed at increasing innovation actors' capacities at individual, collective, and organizational level. And it can be played, for example, during the development phase, because the need may be to increase internal capacities, but also in the embedding phase, because there is the need to increase the external capacities of other actors. And the sixth function is enhancing, supporting access to resources. It includes all services for innovators aimed at enhancing the process, and this could be facilitating access to inputs, seeds, fertilizers, so on, facilities and equipment, and funding. So we can play, support providers can play this function during the planning and also during the realization phase, when there is the need to implement the innovation. And finally, we have the last one, institutional support for niche innovation and scaling mechanism stimulation. This includes institutional support for niche innovation and also for scaling up the innovation process. So this refers to the support for the design and enforcement of norms, rules, funding mechanisms, taxes, subsidies, and so on, that facilitate the innovation process. And obviously, negotiation with authorities to create a proper space for experiment, or the provision of incubators, experimental infrastructure, are more needed in the planning and development phase, while the support for design enforcement of norms, rules, funding mechanism, and support the intellectual property are more needed in the end of the process. So now, after looking at the process, we have a question: who are the innovation support services providers? Looking at the process, at the spirals, we have seen that the services which are needed evolve along the innovation process and may require different actors to be involved in a particular phase. So different actors can be engaged in the same innovation process, contributing by performing different functions to achieve successful outcomes, and not only by performing different functions, but also with their skill, with different skills, competencies, and expertise. We, in our ATTRACTISS projects, we conducted a mapping exercise. We use some criteria to map innovation support services. It's not an exhaustive exercise. As criteria, we choose the provider who already delivers some innovation support services according to the 7 ISS function, and also the providers that has been appointed as innovation support services providers in the CAP strategic plans. The characteristic that we identified, that we wanted to explore, was if they were institutional or individual, type of entity, nature of provider, public or private, mandate for services, working level, and if they were appointed by the CAP strategic plan, and so on. And the characteristics obviously are different, because some providers can be just, can have a specific mandate. They do this because it is their job. But also there are some people that provide a kind of support just because they are interested in moving the innovation process. So you can see on your right all the ISS providers, kind of ISS providers that we identified. And just to conclude, the last slide, this is just one result of our mapping exercise. Looking at the function, we see that the ISS 3, that is the articulation of demand, is not really played. So the question is, our operational groups or our interactive innovation projects are really starting from the ground, from the needs of the farmers. So this is just the last question to start the discussion between us.
Alicia, that was so interesting. Thank you so much. And while you were presenting, our team was very busy engaging in some little conversation on the side on the chat that was really interesting, and I think that really fits into it. So if that's okay, before we move into the presentation of the real life examples, I think it's interesting to open that conversation just by exploring 2 of the mains that came. And one really important one is around financing. So we've talked about this whole process and everything, but there's a question, let me find it exactly so that I don't make it up. Fidos is asking, from where is the whole procedure financing coming, and whether they're capitals from the government or from private capitals. I think that depends on the environment, and there's different experiences, but I would like to hear from you, and then we can share a few of our ideas. Go, Patricia. Who's funding it? Or how can you find funding for it?
Okay, well, you can find funding. CAP, the CAP policy, CAP funds, but also you can find, if you are able to have a good group with a good idea and with a good plan, you can also look for funding, other fundings. For example, we have now some good example in Italy from the banks, foundation created by the banks. We have now a lot of foundations that are ready to finance good projects that are not funded by the CAP policy because the lack of funding maybe. And so this can be a channel. I don't know if it is also functioning in other member states, but maybe there are the NGOs some NGOs that can fund this project. I think the more important thing is not to look at funding, but to make a good proposal, to have a good group with a good idea. If you have this, you can surely apply to different source of funding, and maybe asking to the national CAP network could be a good idea. You know that the member states have the CAP networks, and they also can broker to a certain extent a good project to seed founders.
And just, I think that what you're saying there is absolutely key in terms of if you have a good idea and a good group, you can actually explore different avenues that better suit your idea. And I'm thinking, for example, in the UK, some companies that are interested in particular ideas can actually pick you up and support you through the process. But as you say, that's very dependent on you being good at creating that initial group and fine-tuning your idea to the point that it makes a lot of sense. So I think that also addresses a question about the first innovation support service, sort of like set of support that they give. There's a question around whether you're thinking in the early stages around knowledge transfer or ideation or new ideas coming together. What would you say? Is it a little bit of both? Is it just the first stage of the whole process? Is it about discovering ideas, transferring knowledge? How would you think about that first stage?
Sorry, Anna, can you repeat the question? Because I'm looking, I see all the pop-up, all the questions in the chat.
Really, you really want to answer them, don't you? Let me just find the actual question.
We could also open the discussion to the other people that are participating.
If anybody wants to open their questions, feel free. I think the question is in the first stage you were talking about ideas. Are you talking? There's a question around whether you're talking about idea creation or knowledge transfer, just as a sort of like starting point for that first step of the innovation spiral, or is it both?
If the knowledge transfer can be a way to start with an idea, yes, because of course I think there are very good pioneers in our countryside, good pioneers with good ideas, and we have also farmers with strong problems that have to solve them. But there are the majority of people do not know to have a need. They are happy or not happy about how things are going, but they do their job, simply do their job. And we call them the silent actors, the silent actors. But I think that in many cases, a lot of farmers are not reached by the advisory service or the innovation support services. They are just working on the countryside without any contact. It is really important to enforce the innovation support services, the advisory services, to give the opportunity to these people to be listened, or simply to inspire these people. It can be just a dissemination, it can be just a transfer of knowledge. They can apply or not apply, but a dissemination is a way to trigger or to let people to think, to let some needs and ideas emerge. So it is really important also to have this phase in the initial phase to trigger the ideas. So really important. Marlene,
yeah, I wanted not actually add because you already explained a lot, but and I will also explain a bit about how we function a bit later in the next presentation. But I think we, as an innovation support service or as a farmers organization, we put a lot of effort in inspiring people and also disseminating results, but also showing good practice, showing different practices, examples. So we really put a lot of effort in the first stages of this innovation spiral. also we have like a magazine, we do an innovation contest, all to reach a public as wide as possible. And this is really important for us. We have, and I will explain later, we have 16,000 members in our farmers organization. Of course, sometimes you only have contact with the pioneers, but about our trainings, about the demonstration activities, writing articles for our agricultural magazine, we really try to reach as many people as possible. And we put a lot of efforts in reaching also these silent actors and a very broad public. And this is one of our really a key task of our innovation support service. Yeah.
Which we're going to be exploring in a second. Inge, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. First of all, congratulations with a fantastic presentation, and I'm really happy to see all this nicely listed up in the stages and with who is important in each stage. So really important. But I wanted to interact here because that was exactly what I was missing in the presentation, and I'm so happy you're now talking about it. As you know, innovation support services under the CAP are now obligatory. Each member state must offer innovation support services. And this obligation is in fact mentioned under the title of advisory services, Article 15. And why is that? Because our assumption is that advisors who are regularly visiting farmers, they see, as you call them, the silent actors, those with maybe an idea or a problem or whatever, but they just don't know the way how to find somebody to help them, or they are shy or whatever. And the basic idea was that advisors would be well placed to somehow funnel all these ideas or problems or whatever, and to bring them up and to get them into these innovative projects of operational groups, capturing these grassroots ideas, as was very well explained in this first step. And I think that when AKIS coordination bodies organize advice, that's their job within the country, that this is a task they should give all advisors, to keep their eyes open and wide to find these silent actors with potential good ideas or problems that need to be solved. And there's an additional advantage for that. When they see different actors, they can a bit compare. Maybe this is a big problem and the other is maybe a smaller problem just for the one person that can be tackled with already existing advice. So they can funnel the most interesting things to work further and to put then funding from operational groups into. So thanks so much so far. You're really doing very well.
Thank you, Inge. I think that was actually a perfect way to sort of like bring us into the next part of our presentation, which is actually practitioners telling us exactly, bringing everything that Patricia has been talking about to life, because sometimes it can feel quite abstract and exactly there's actually a really good question here around what are the key differences between knowledge transfer services and innovation support services. I think that that's a question that we can address towards the end of the conversation. But while Marlene and Laura explain a little bit what they're doing in their own daily work, I think that question will start to slowly unravel in their answers. So I'm going to start sharing again and just make sure to give the floor to Marlene. In the meantime, feel free, the Menti is still open. I will put the link again there because I think it's very interesting now to move to ask you, well, you've seen what innovation support services do. What do you do in your day-to-day work that would actually align with what Patricia talked about? But first, let's share the screen and allow our experts to continue talking about their knowledge. There we go. Marlene, that's floor's yours.
Yes, you can find, as Anna is already written in the chat, you can find the PowerPoints afterwards. So there was a lot of information yet on the slides, but take your time afterwards to read it. I'm Marlene from Marleen Gijzen from Boerenbond, and I'm here together with my colleague Melanie. She's a bit hidden because of my background. We operate in the region of Flanders, the northern Dutch-speaking part of Belgium. We work at Boerenbond, and I'll explain later. Short overview of agriculture in Flanders. We have around 22,000 farms in Flanders, of which 3/4 can be considered as professional farms. We have highly intensive agriculture, and main sectors are pig breeding, poultry, dairy farming. So we have a lot of animals in Flanders, especially in the west of Flanders. But we are also very specialized in growing vegetables and fruit, as well as ornamental plant culture. We do not have an officially appointed ISS in Flanders, but of course there is innovation support within the CAP, as you all know. Boerenbond in a nutshell, I said it previously, we are a farmers organization, and more important, we are a member organization, which means this is a really bottom-up organization structure we have. We have 16,000 members, of which about two-thirds are active farmers. I said very bottom-up. That means that we have a lot of voluntary board members. We have a lot of structures. So we have 210 local groups in the 5 provinces of Flanders. So decisions are really made bottom-up. What are we doing? And we are at Boerenbond, I believe, with 220 people working at our organization. We promote agricultural and horticultural interests. It's a bit the lobbying part. We support our members through training and network activities. We stimulate innovations. We create social support for the sector, and we provide our members with quality advice. Melanie and I, we are from the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Department within Boerenbond. We are completely embedded in the farmers organization. Our main activities for this innovation and entrepreneurship team are the training, network activities, innovation, and also advice. That's our daily business, our daily work, to say so. Our 2 teams are actually working or operating as an innovation support service, and this is a bit an old slide. I used it often before. So what are our main tasks? We inspire people, and I said it previously at the end of Patricia's presentation. We put a lot of efforts in providing inspiration, and I will show you some pictures in the next slides of what we are concretely doing. We bridge the gap between farmers, researchers, and other innovation actors. And if you have a look at the ATTRACTISS map of Flanders, you can see that farmers are central, but also Boerenbond and ISP, as we were called, or Boerenbond, we are really a key player in the ATTRACTISS. We have a very strong network of farmers or members, but also researchers and other players. We give a lot of advice, and we try to train action-oriented. Here are some illustrations of things we are doing. On the left side, you can see group work. We bring together people. Not only bringing together people, we try to collect their ideas. We have a lot of tools and methods for doing that. It's my friends and family always say, "Oh, you can play a lot," but that's indeed the purpose. We play a lot. We try to make comfortable settings with farmers and other actors to trigger them for their ideas, but also solutions. So that's what we do a lot. Our colleagues talking with people. We do a lot of forum visits, again, to inspire people, to train them, to disseminate results. We take them on inspiration bus trips, and I explained already in previous webinars, also in modernAKIS and so on. We organize a lot of inspiration bus trips. This is a way of bringing people, actors from different backgrounds together and exploring, getting inspired, and so on. We also have, and you can see it at the bottom in the middle, we also have an innovation contest, and this is a really nice tool we use at the beginning of the innovation spiral. So it's an innovation contest. We launched it every 2 years with the purpose of getting new ideas and also triggering farmers to think, okay, maybe I do have some really nice ideas, and they do not always realize they have ideas, but with really working together with them in this contest, helps getting new ideas. We also help them in realizing their ideas and so on. Yeah, and forum visits, of course, we do that often. When I have a look, I can talk for hours about what we are doing, but this is my last slide. When I relate our activities to what is set or is put in the CAP strategic plan in chapter 8 about the AKIS measures, these are the really important measures for us as an innovation support service. First of all, of course, the operational groups, the EIP Agri operational groups. What do we do as an innovation support service? We support farmers and other actors in preparing a good project proposal, collecting ideas, bringing stakeholders together, but also helping them in articulating the demands, drafting the application form, etc., etc. And we also participate sometimes as a partner ourselves. We also have this very nice instrument in Flanders called the VLIF support for innovative investments on the farm. Flanders supports farmers who want to do investments. And when we say innovative investments, that means that it has not happened yet in Flanders or in the specific sector. So it really has to be new. And we support farmers in preparing the application documents, and articulation of demands really is a key in this. But we also, and I forgot to add, we also support the government in supporting the farmers. For example, in a few weeks, we have a study day or a working day, a training day together with the managing authorities and the rural network. And we invite farmers, advisors, practitioners, everyone to Brussels, and we will train with them network analysis, pestle analysis, how to pitch your idea, how to make it happen. And so that's what we are not only supporting the farmers, but also supporting the government in supporting the farmers. We also, and I said it previously a few times already, we also give a lot of training and advice for farmers. And in Flanders, you have the demand-driven training and advice, which is really on an individual basis. And we also have this supply-driven training. When we organize ourselves, we think, okay, this is really a nice thing to disseminate. Okay, we can train it. We offer this training to the farmers. And we call it it is called the knowledge voucher system. It's a knowledge voucher system. And farmers can also use these vouchers to ask for innovation support. So there were a lot of questions in the chat about funding, but they can also use a voucher for innovation support. And that was, in a nutshell, more or less what we are doing.
Can I add something?
But Melanie wants to add something.
Yes, for the operational groups, through our other advisory services over the whole of the sector, so plants, dairy, pigs, etc. We learn also about the needs that are above the individual farmers. And this is also when we hear about a certain need enough, then also this inspires us to initiate new operational groups for which we easily find farmers to participate. And for the VLIF support, so this VLIF innovation, VLIF supports for innovative investments. When the government sees that some very new innovation is very relevant for the whole of the sector. They will transfer this particular machine or system to another list, and then farmers can get funds to it's more accessible for all farmers.
Yeah, which is actually the last phase of the innovation spiral, really the embedding of innovative ideas into the sector.
Inga.
Yeah, because we are talking about this innovative investment support, that's really very much linked to innovation support and innovation projects. We had Els Lapage last week in the event in Reims, where we were talking about spreading outcomes. And she was telling the story about these innovative investments. And she also mentioned that this support or advice for a very new investment that is for the very first time put on the farm, that often there are also small elements that still need adjustment. She was talking about the example of sweet potatoes, which first in operational groups and also multi-actor projects, they have learned how to produce it in Flanders because it's not a typical Flemish crop. And following from these operational groups, there were a number of farmers that wanted to start with this new harvester or this new planting machine for these sweet potatoes. And just as an example, because it's an overall measure that they have, it can be for anything, but these innovative investments, they have automatically the right to have advice with it, because not only, as I saw it on the slide, to support the application, but also to help to connect with the machine deliverer, so the machinery company, to maybe, if there's something not fully going right, to help to amend the small things that with the first type of a certain machine, there's always something that still needs to adjust it. And Els told that this is also the reason why they give additional advice with these innovative investments, in order to sort out these little issues that can happen when a machine is for the first time sold, and there's still something lacking. And then it's nice also to have Melanie who added that after everything is going well and this innovative investment has been tested on the farm with that farmer, so not under an operational group, but really as an investment measure. When all goes well, then they can come on this list of investments, normal investments for all farmers, in fact.
Super, thank you very much. We're going to move to Laura now, but I'm seeing a lot of discussions on the chat, but also people sharing the projects that they're working in and how to connect. Feel free to do that, and we'll also be picking up on those information and sharing it through our follow-up email, and also just for anybody asking about the PowerPoint, which I forgot to mention at the very beginning, don't worry, people, it will be made available as well as the recording and everything else we've talked about. Patricia, you're up, but in the meantime, I will put the presentation back on so that you feel a little bit pressured to let Laura continue afterwards.
And looking at the chat, I'm just in the middle, so I still miss 22 messages. But I would like just to reply to those who ask for good example and ideas. Some people already reply to go to the AP Agri website. I can mention also we have some good reports in the I2Connect portal. So I2Connect project, we study 40 cases. So we have the reports on the website of this project. But and I would like to see that to say that in the future we will have a dedicated webinar. I do not remember the month of the webinar by you, Ugo, that will be about experience in operational group. So please remember to participate. And also, I hope that with the forum, opening the forum in our AKIS Connect platform, we can have also a space dedicated to operational group to share and exchange experience, ideas, and so on. The last things before continuing to read the chat, I would like to reply to Seri Zamidra. I don't know if the name is correct. You are from Ukraine. You are asking a lot of questions about the experience of European, the EAU countries, and I would like, this is not the place to answer, to reply to you, but if you need to speak with us, we are ready to have a private chat to explain you the mechanism and to also offer some support for the setting up of the two operational groups. So please be in touch with us, and we can have a private conversation.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And you see, this is why I love this. They're amazing. I'm going to let Laura go ahead now and tell her experience in Germany, which is really interesting because it shows you the flavor of the different innovation support services by having it being compared with what's happening not far away in the Netherlands. So Laura, go ahead. It's all yours.
Yeah, that's true. Before I start explaining how Agrathaer is working and what we are and how we function as an ISS, so Innovation Support Service Provider, I would give you some information where we are. So we are in Brandenburg, which is a federal state of Germany, over here marked in this map on the right-hand side. So we are in the eastern part of Germany with Berlin in its center. So farmers and agriculture producers do have a good access to sale markets because obviously as a capital, Berlin, they need their fruits and vegetables and animal products. So it's quite an attractive work area for farmers. However, the farming size and numbers are reduced. We have at the moment about 1.3 million hectare arable land with around 5,400 farms. And out of these farms, roughly 20 to 25% are run ecologically. And as we have this trend, we have reduced numbers, but their sizes are getting bigger. And this is actually not a trend only in Brandenburg. It is a Germany-wide trend. And yeah, so we see that as well over here. Main crops, maize, cereals, vegetables, but very far away, maize and cereals are on the top. Livestock is not as pronounced as Malin. We do have animals, but not all over. So poultry, pig, and cattle farming would be the priority. We don't have in Brandenburg an official advisory institution. So we have advisors that are registered experts, and those registration format and process is based on federal ministerial directive. So we have a list that every farmer can access and say, okay, there is an expert for a specific topic, and then he can approach to that specific topic, but we don't have an institution covering all the aspects. So that's why I'm just saying that, because sometimes for us as an ISS, that makes it a little bit difficult because we need to bridge the gap from the advisors to the farmers and stuff like that, because we can go to one specific direction or institution. So now I want to move the slide, but it doesn't work. No, here we go. So Agrathaer, on the left-hand side, you just see our logo. Agrathaer is management and innovation organization, or company rather. We are a private company, and we have been officially appointed by the federal state of Brandenburg to be the ISS in Brandenburg. So compared to Marleen, who has not an appointed ISS, we are one. And just to give you an idea how it works, because Germany, federal state, always keep this in mind, because the requirements are regulated by the ministry guidelines. So not each ministry, because not every federal state has an ISS in Germany, but these guidelines might differ between the federal states, and that's why the requirements for the ISS and their work and their framework can be different. Major differences would be, one example, just to give you a practical idea, is limited of budget. So for instance, over here in Brandenburg, projects can apply for an unlimited budget. They need to provide a good proposal. They need to explain why they want to have a specific amount of money. Whereas in other federal countries, the budget limit is maybe 50,000, or there is a specific limit and they cannot apply for a higher amount of money. That is just one very practical example of the difference between the federal states. So as I said, Agrathaer is not a farmer association, as Marleen explained. We are a private company. We have been also working for EDIP projects, so we have been coordinating those projects. So we know from the ground what the farmers and the problems over here located in Brandenburg are. So we know what we're talking about. And what we do is that we support the OGs within the application process, which is a two-step process. What does it mean? So we have first, farmers and OGs can come to us and say, look, we have an idea. What do you think? And then we say, yes, maybe you need to adjust a little bit the idea to clarify the innovation and to give them a little hint so that the application process is positive at the end. So then they have their documentation, and these documentation where they explain what they want to do, how many workers they need, and how many time they need, and obviously how much money they want. All these documents are then collected and handed over to a committee, which is then evaluating these documents and saying, yes, this could be a good idea, or no, rather not. So when they pass through this first step, then they can actually apply for the actual funding to the ELB, it's called over here, which is the funding sources, like the bank. So the next one, oops, no, I was too fast again, sorry. So we are not only supporting the OGs, we during the first step where they apply for the good funding, we are also supporting the ministry in terms of that we collect all those project documents that I was talking, or that we are also doing like checking if there might be a double funding risk or something like that. And also we address problems from the OGs that came to us and said, we do have problems with specific details about the application process or itself. We have a little managing problem maybe over here. Then we also are a little bit in between the ministry and the OGs as a neutral advisor. So as you learned already that ISS have 7 functions that they are addressing, I go now through those 7 functions, not in such a detail as Patricia was saying, but just to give you an idea that we as an ISS provider in Brandenburg do not address all of these functions, but we are still an ISS. So this is also a nature of the game that ISS is very different and do not address all those functions. So the first one is awareness and knowledge dissemination. We can tick it off over here and say, yes, we do this because we have a newsletter where we provide information spreading out to the OGs, for instance. We also have regular meetings with the OGs and can say, okay, do you need anything from us? So we are a demand-based advisor, let's say it, or we can support on a demand-based the OGs. And we are also planning some workshops where the operational groups are learning more about how they could transfer their knowledge into the practical daily life work of farmers, that the results do not stay within this project bubble so that they can transfer it even further. The next step is advisory, consulting, and backstopping. We also do this. So as I said, we do help within the application process and relate problems forward to the ministry. So we are these neutral advisors between ministry and OGs, and but we also support the operational group within the whole process. So we are there for them. If they have any problems, they can come to us and we can help them to solve a problem. And these problems can be of any kind of, from the financial problems in the beginning, the application problems within at the end, how they can disseminate their results. So we cover the whole process. The third function, which is not showing, we are not addressing. So you have seen this already in the figure that Patricia was showing, that the third function where demand articulation is addressed, we do not do that because the operations groups are coming to us and they have their idea already in advance. So we don't look and see around if there are any innovative idea. The fourth function is the network facilitation, and in all crucial phases, as I said already, yes, we can tick off this function. Capacity building, we also do this. I already said that we are not only doing workshops, but we also do peer-to-peer knowledge transfer. And if there are any problems, then we are here. But we are focusing now during our work for the ISS in Brandenburg on the dissemination of results. This is really our topic because we want to transfer the knowledge that is gained in the project to transport them into the practical work of farmers and not only staying in this project area, as I say. The sixth function, we can say yes over here. We do help if there are any problems, for instance, when sometimes during the process of a project you realize this work for the project is quite intense and it consumes quite a lot of time and I need to put a lot of work in it and I don't really have the capacity to pay someone for it. This as a practical idea example, then we could arrange an extra funding on a hour-based contract, and this is also possible, but we don't look for extra funding in terms of other funding sources of projects. So we can just adjust a little bit within the project itself. And the last function is now we go, is the institutional support. And also we need to cross out over here because we are not addressing this. So we are really there for the OGs and we are working on a demand based. Yeah, that's from my side. And now I will hand back to Anna if there aren't any questions directly related to Brandenburg.
And we'll let people decide. Sometimes it takes a wee while before we get them, but just to say, it's really interesting to see the comparison points between what Marlene was talking about, what you're talking about, how they connect, how sometimes they don't connect. And I think that one of the beautiful things that shows us that there's no one way to be an innovation support service, but at the end of the day, everything is aimed at supporting the farmers to come up with their ideas and bring change on the ground. And that's always really exciting. I see Patricia's hand is first and then Inge. So go.
Yeah, just a quick reaction. I see that Paul Daniel is very active on the chat. So maybe if he wants to intervene now in the discussion, is very welcome. And I would like to ask to Lina Ulm, because she asks in the chat, what is the difference between innovation support services from transfer, knowledge transfer? So I would like to know if things are more clearer now, or if you have some doubts, if you need some further explanation by us, Lina. Sorry to call you.
No problem. Thank you very much. I think the concrete examples from Brandenburg and from Flanders are helping me to understand better what are the differences. So yeah, thank you very much.
And while I was reading the question, I was also thinking, I was focusing on activities that we are doing, like providing inspiration and things like that. But when you ask what is the difference, I think the interaction with all the actors and the farmer, it's how to say it, his or her ownership. So we really take that seriously. So it's always a co-creative process. It's not us saying what he or she needs to do. So that is really, really important. And I showed some pictures of the typical post-its on the table, but this is really important, that it is a co-creative multi-actor process. And I think that's the difference. And that's also what Patricia explained at the beginning, a difference with how innovation maybe in really earlier times was seen as a linear process. And now it's more like it's a spiral. You can go back and forth. You interact with all the relevant actors. You invite people. You bring expertise in. You ask for expertise. I mean, I think this is really key. And I'm a bit ashamed that I didn't stress it enough during my presentation. But this maybe because it was so obvious, as I said, and I also said that we are a member organization, so we are really, how to say it in English? We say in Dutch, gepokt en gemazeld, which means it's really in our DNA to involve everyone, and the farmer is the central person in this with his or her ideas, which is really important.
Marlene, you almost killed Paul Daniels on that one. He just started laughing so hard. Everybody who speaks Dutch were just on the floor. I have no idea. Just to complement that super short before I pass to Lina, in the UK where the situation is more fragmented, it's still that thing of making sure that the whole process is farmer-led, and then the knowledge exchange kind of just follows through the whole process. So it becomes very intertwined and it's hard to separate, but it's actually the best way that we've seen to actually generate impact on the ground from the start. And it multiplies the impact immensely. If from the very beginning, they're driving their own innovation, because the impact on a regional level and on a sort of like same industry level. So if you're thinking dairy or if you're thinking particular things, when a farmer is testing the idea and talking about it, immediately it's really easy to share. And we don't see that as much anywhere near as much when it's not a farmer telling their story. So in a way, it's sort of like it's starting to fuse in some of our practices where the innovation and the knowledge exchange kind of like are getting closer and closer together as long as the farmer is leading the process. Inga.
Yes, thanks a lot. Time flies. I don't realize how quick it goes. I should have been in another meeting already, but it's fantastic. Very interesting what you're telling. I have a question and something to add, because we have a nice example of, on the one hand, Flanders, where there is the Innovation Support Service very well known because they are part of the farmers, the one and only farmers, no, not really one and only, but a big farmers organization in Flanders. So they are visible, they are in the Farmers Journal that most farmers read, so they are visible. But Flanders has decided not to indicate just one advisory services. And according to the regulation, that's fine. There's no need to say this is the Innovation Support Service and that's the only one you can use. So there's different opportunities to go to different people to help them for operational group. That's no problem. The obligation is only to have innovation support services. So if a member state would be audited and it would be clear that there's nobody to help a farmer with innovation, that would be a problem. So it's very nice that we have the two examples here. We have Flanders, and then in Brandenburg, they have one clear, visible innovation support service. And I emphasize the word visible because visibility is very important, that every farmer in the country or in the region knows where to go to if he has an idea or if he has a problem that might be helped with a project to do so. So it's very important to show yourself if you're an innovation support service, that people know where to go to. That's really important. I think I missed a little bit the development around the role of advisors. I think in the beginning, Patricia mentioned it in her presentation, if I remember well, but it's really important to have advisors involved in the whole process. Why? Because first of all, I already mentioned that they can capture, because they are in contact with their clients, so they can capture innovative ideas or problems. But also in the project, and I think I also saw this in one of the presentations, it's very useful to have advisors in, because they have practical knowledge that can be very useful for the subject of the project. So it's getting the ideas, then helping for the development of the project with their practical knowledge. And then I saw the word multiplier, and that's also applicable very much to advisors. If an advisor is in a group and he sees that a certain practice or method or tool or whatever works very well, he is the best placed to go and promote it with his other clients. So it's really very important, and we are also very happy to see in our statistics that in operational groups we see more and more, it's really going steeply up, more and more advisors in. We still have a few countries where there are no advisors or very little advisors in operational groups, but I can't emphasize how important it is to have them in, because they have many different functions that are very useful for the operational group to get established, to function well, and as a multiplier. And so innovation support is not identical to advice, but they are very closely intertwined, you know. And I would just here with this last thing I can say before I have to go, want to emphasize the role of being in good contact with advisors and trying to get them as much as possible in operational groups too.
That is lovely. A little bit like Peter is saying, that's connecting lots of dots of what has been discussed through the whole event on the chat. Patricia, go ahead.
Yes, just a quick reaction to Inge, because I perfectly agree with her. And obviously, we cannot say all things in one webinar, 1 hour and a half. This is why we have a series of webinar, and we will continue this path, discovering innovation support services and also advisory services. And just a quick reaction, Inge, because I was really surprised when speaking with the advisor in my country, in Italy. I discovered that some of them are not participate in the first phase of the spiral, and in the end, in the communication, but not in the middle, when the technical competence are needed. And this is because the universities, the researchers, do not like to have advisors with them when they are going to the farms for their experiments. This is really something not good.
Yeah, I can only reply that we've seen it changing in other countries. So let's hope it also, by the examples of other countries and by repeating. That's why I wanted to share this with you now today. By repeating it, it will happen, I think, in the end, because researchers are also persons who look for good results, and that whatever they develop is really implemented. And if they realize that advisors can help them in that sense, they will start thinking differently. And it takes a number of good examples before they come to this process. And maybe also the training of researchers could be adapted a little bit, and the training you are giving, maybe you can invite, or you're already, I don't know, you're already maybe inviting researchers. So I think what we are doing is a long process. I'm in there from 2011, and I think it's going all along in the good direction, but sometimes we have to be patient.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Thank you very much.
Absolutely love it. And if any researchers are here, or you think a researcher needs help, feel free to contact them with us. We're happy to for it. And part of a really important part, at least of what we're seeing, again, I'm talking from the UK experience, is actually bringing the researchers in and sort of like teaching them the tools and everything, because it's partly the way that their academic career needs to go, that they need to focus on things, and this is not necessarily a natural place to go. So, but we see at least here a huge, massive interest in academics wanting to learn all the skills because they see the value to themselves and also to make their work impactful in the real world. So it's always very interesting to be able to support on that side of the equation as well. We have 5 last minutes. So I see that Alex raised his hand. So I think that's 5 minutes.
Thank you, Anna. I think that what Patricia said raises a very delicate issue about the operational groups. The purpose of operational groups is not for researchers and academics to apply their research on farms. This is a distortion of the message. I believe that it's a principle of operational groups that there is a problem raised by farmers who ask academics to support them. It's not the other way around. That's my opinion, at least. Thank you very much.
I see lots of nodding heads, so well done, Alex. Love that. We have 5 minutes to go, people. So unless there's any burning questions, I would like to do a last exercise with you and just show you what you've been compiling yourselves in the Menti through our conversation. There's lots of really interesting ideas. So let me just share with you the thing that is already there. And first, I wanted to just share with you a little bit of an idea of what you thought innovation support services were. We will share this with you as well so that you can have a flavor of if you see any changes from the beginning and the end. But the overall comments are very aligned in terms of supporting actors to create change, to develop innovation, very practical aspects, some of them, sort of like even back office, which is always nice to see, help people realize ideas. Those are always nice things to see, support farmers, help introduce new solutions. And again, sort of like, it's not very here. And I really just that idea of help to realize innovative ideas is really important, and the farmer part as well. I would say in general, what is interesting and I would like to see afterwards is how much the farmers feature and your ideas after all this conversation. There's also a few ideas of what you're doing nowadays, lots of brokerages, supporting with good connections. So Patricia, you'll be happy to know that lots of the functions that you mentioned are happening there already. I think that what's always interesting is that challenge of communicating what is happening and whether we feel we're doing it or if it's even part of what we need to do. Because I'm sure that people who are doing all these things are also communicating, whether they see it as a separate aspect or not is always interesting. And what I wanted to ask you as a last question is really fast, people. After watching this, do you think you're an innovation support service? Yes, no, or you're not sure yet? So if you could answer this last question, that would be fantastic. I see already 2 people saying very happily, yes. Remember that to participate in this Menti, you actually have to go to menti.com and use the code 58667989. And I see that while some really feel confident that they are an innovation support service, some are not that confident yet. But hopefully we will inspire you to either become one or feel confident that you are one and get all the tools that you need to make it happen. So I think we're going to leave this open. Someone was asking about it. I will leave this open and share the results with you as well, because it's always interesting to see how it goes and what other people think to get inspiration. But before we finish, we do have a series of other webinars coming soon. And so we would like to make sure that we actually answer your questions in the coming events. So if you could answer that poll that I just put on the screen, it should take you literally, I tried many times, 2 minutes to answer, but just let us know what worked today, what didn't work today, and what you would like to hear from us in the future. And as we see that 15 people feel that they're innovation support services, so that's really interesting, and we'll get in touch. Some are not sure yet, we will get in touch with you too. I would like to remind everyone that this is a series of events, and therefore we will be organizing a monthly webinar that you're very welcome to attend. They're right there. It's called a WoW webinar series, and that's because it's webinars on Wednesdays, so you can get it wrong. It will happen on a Wednesday. The next one coming is actually in March. The topic is fostering knowledge flows and innovation, aligning research with practice needs. So absolutely perfect to answer all the questions that you have after Alex raised that last point there. And we will also be in the April event, we're going to be going into more depth about the 7 functions of innovation support services. So you're very welcome. You don't have to worry now. We will make sure to share all this information in the follow-up email, as well as all the relevant links that we had today. And with that, I'm on 10:30 on the dot, which is very impressive considering that you were the victims of both Italian and Latin American time management. I just wanted to thank everyone for having come, for being so engaged, for making this a really lovely first event, and for bringing us more energy, because we're really looking forward to seeing you in the future, either in person or online. Thank you to our amazing speakers. Thank you to everyone that came. And if you have any questions, you can always contact us. Have a lovely, lovely Wednesday. Bye.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you to all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.